most part, they are agents, and they are here to destroy this union. And it was brought to my attention just yesterday that there are 11 states that are talking about getting off of the United States Federal Reserve note and going to the Canadian dollar. Well, that tells me whatever these states are, again, you're trying to work for the crown heads, because unless I'm mistaken, Canada is supposed to be a protectorate or whatever being run by the crown head of Europe, unless I'm mistaken. Now, the fact of the matter is they tried to destroy the Union for the Civil War. Now, and they had all these different agents that came through as Masons and set up the Ku Klux Klan and all this other nonsense to try and destroy the Union. I'm not promoting the success of the Union, but this is what I'm saying. You can look at the United States as a house. You are sitting in the house, and you're saying, I can't stand this house. I hate this house. Somebody needs to burn this shit down. I'm sick of this house. This house is horrible. Somebody needs to burn it down. But you are sitting inside the house wanting someone to come and burn it down while you're sitting inside of it. If someone does, in fact, burn the house down with you inside of it, the walls can fall in and kill you. That's what you need to understand when you say you want the United States to fall. I'm not promoting success of the United States. It would be better to say, you know, I hate this house. This house is horrible. We need to fix this house up. We need to redo this house and make it better, as opposed to saying somebody needs to burn it down while you're sitting in it. Now, we are still here in the United States, and we are going to be destroyed if we don't get a clue. And I mean that's across the racial divide, across the religious divide. There are people attempting to destroy here. Now, keep in mind, there are people that, let's say this destruction takes place, and the house is falling in and the walls are falling in on you, like they are in Haiti, like they were in New Orleans. The very people that are supposed to be coming to help you and save you will leave you high and dry, or they will be the same individuals that start murdering you and killing you off. Now, if the federal government closes tomorrow, while everybody's on some whole, well, you know, we need to stop all the welfare and all the handouts. It's not just what they call black people that are getting these so-called welfare and handouts. These things that they call the federal arm and how far the financial reach of the federal arm goes is deeper than most people realize. When you're talking about federal funding, the federal government funds freeway repairs to a certain extent. They fund the public school system across the country. They fund food, whether the lunch programs, whether they're free or you buy the lunch. There's a certain amount of federal funding that's involved. A lot of the funding goes to the payroll of the instructors, but people don't understand how this thing goes. The finances from the federal government reach to Social Security, SSI, people that get subsistence from the government, like welfare and food stamps. The federal government has a tendency to fund some of that. Every single state of the union gets a certain amount of funding from the federal government just for the states to keep operating. Every single public transit system in the country, MTA in Southern California, CTA in Chicago, or whatever your public transit for buses is called, most of the money that operates a public transportation system is from the federal government. A lot of people that are currently on unemployment, a lot of these people are on a federal extension for their unemployment. And if there is a cease of funds coming from the federal government because it shuts down effective tomorrow, if it lasts for more than a couple of days, people are going to see how bad things are going to get real quickly. Now, if it lasts beyond the third of the month, when people that are elderly, despite their race, a lot of these people that get these housing, HUD is funded by the federal government to a certain extent. Section 8 is funded by the federal government to a certain extent. People need to comprehend how deep this stuff goes, okay? A lot of the things that are imported, the federal government has a lot to do with financing the importation of foods and the importation of products. We would wind up being in a very damaging and detrimental position if, in fact, they shut this government down tomorrow and it is not reactivated before the 3rd. By then, people are going to be in trouble because, one, they have already exported out a lot of the jobs that put a lot of people on unemployment or unemployed, and their unemployment has run out. And some of these people have jumped in line for subsistence relief checks across the racial divide. I know people that are there, and they're surprised at how many so-called white people and how many so-called Hasidic Jews and how many so-called Asians and all these people that they're working stock just by the look of them, but they're now in line for little welfare and food stamps because their unemployment has run out. And if you receive unemployment and they stop the federal government, that's going to cease. If you get Social Security checks for disability, retirement, or whatever the case, that's going to cease. A lot of people that work for the federal government, your pay is going to cease. Instructors and teachers, some of the universities, it depends on the university. Some of these people, this reach of the octopus of the federal arm is deeper than you ever could possibly know. And I'm submitting to you that the Tea Party that's behind it are working for what you call the Rothschilds or the international bankers. They're also working for the Vatican and the heads of the church. They're also working for the crowned heads of Europe and the so-called kings, queens, and princes to destroy this union and blame it on the president, which will shift the blame to black people in general, because when it falls, so-called white people across the country are going to be mad at black people everywhere they find them, even though it has nothing to do with us, like the Civil War had nothing to do with us. But people are too blind to see what's going on. And I see the big picture. If this thing stops tomorrow and is not reactivated before the 3rd, everyone will be in trouble because the jobs are gone, the unemployment is gone. If they're not getting their checks, a lot of teachers won't get paid, a lot of state employees won't get paid, a lot of county employees, because some of their money comes from the federal government also, won't get paid. A lot of people that are on Section 8 won't be able to pay their rent. A lot of people that are living in HUD and housing type of projects won't be able to pay their rent. A lot of things are going to stop, and it's going to be bad, because if there's no money, then people will not be able to pay your rent. No matter what your race is, your homeowner, your rent won't be able to get paid in a lot of places. If you don't get the rent from your tenants, you can't pay your mortgage. It's going to put you in the position of losing your property, which is what they're doing. It's a property grab. It's always about stealing the property from people. Some of the states and cities across the country, they have privatized the water and taken the water out of the hands of the county or the city. And once they privatize it, the water prices have gone so high that a lot of people cannot afford to pay their water bill. In some states, if you cannot pay your water bill, they seize the house that you own or the house that you live in, or they put the water bill on the taxes. When the taxes come due, if you can't pay the whole amount, which is the water bill plus the taxes, the house is gone and you're out of luck. Now, if all of this transpires and people can't pay their rent, not to mention the fact that gas prices are shooting up sky high every day, you will not be able to gas your car. If they stop the funding of the public transit system, you will not be able to catch the bus to work. A lot of people commute long distances because they can't afford, especially these so-called white people. A lot of them have moved way out far from where the jobs are, and they're taking public transportation into work. That stuff is going to stop functioning if they shut down this federal government. The food prices are climbing higher than people want to know because they swear up and down due to weather shortages. There's a shortage of food, so the vegetable and fruit prices are up. The shelves are kind of empty in a lot of places. I was looking at a piece of cauliflower. This thing was smaller than a lemon, approximately the size of a little bitty lime. It was kind of greenish in color. It looked like a cross between a broccoli and a cauliflower. They wanted $3 and something for this little bitty thing. I'm like, oh, and who are you supposed to feed with this? Now, if you can't afford to buy food because of the prices, and you can't afford to buy gasoline because of the prices, and you can't pay your rent and bills because wherever your money comes from, whether you're working for the government or not, or whatever the case may be, and keep this in mind, although they say it's privatized, the so-called United States Postal Service is privatized, that to a certain extent has a lot of federal funding coming to it. So what happens to all of your mails and your packages, and what happens to your taxes? And trust me when I tell you, if your taxes are late, they're not going to take the fact that the post office isn't running as an excuse. They don't mind being late giving you your refund, but you better not be late paying them because, oh, they stopped the federal government and the Postal Service cannot even continue to function. The courts may not be able to continue to function. People had better wake up. This is bigger than you know and bigger than you think, and I'm saying all this to say to you, if you are melanin rich, or if you are not melanin rich but you have done your spiritual work, we have the power to stop this. We have the energy and the power to stop this. Now, that's all I want to say about that. Enough on that kind of stuff, but people need to comprehend what's going on here. One of my sisters was letting me know, and I think she said to look into something called the Great River. One of the reasons that they're attacking Libya, or Gaddafi, I think that's his name. I'm not the one on these names of people, but whoever this cat is that's over Libya right now, I think it's Gaddafi, was because he's bringing water to the people. Not to mention the fact that they don't want the foreign bank. Understand what's going on here. They're currently, I told you guys, the Sudan was in line. They are sideways attacking Sudan already. And somewhere on the Ivory Coast, there's a problem with some election, and I can't recall off the top of my name the name of these two cats. But the cat that they want out of office, and they're using UN troops to try to get this cat out of his house and out of the way, so they can put in another melanin-rich cat who is a representative of the IMF. Pay attention to what's going on around you. None of this stuff is what they're saying. None of it is what we think it is, and they're full of shit, straight up, plain and simple. But they're going to be able to make it work because they're using people's race card, religion card. Oh, you're wearing a turban and you're Muslim and Islamic and whatever. They're using all kind of nonsense to push this agenda that has nothing to do with half of what people are told that it is. Now, having said all that, comprehend that we have the power to stop it and make things go. You can get some more time, or I'm not saying that it's going to be stopped because melanin-rich people may not want to stop it. A lot of people want to see the United States destroyed. But anybody that is running around promoting this Tea Party agenda and the seceding of the states because there's a so-called black president in office, which is what they're using, that's the excuse. Or because, this guy is, whatever the case may be, these are agent provocateurs that are attempting to destroy the Union. And that's fine if you want to destroy it, but you are in this house. You don't want people to burn it down with you in it, because once the walls fall in on you, the so-called people coming in to save you might be the very people that come in killing you like they did in New Orleans, like they're doing in Haiti, and it may or may not have anything to do with your color or race, even though that will be the first thing they use is color and race. But the ultimate objective is to get these inbred, crazy, not sane, child molesting, child stealing, ritual killers, cannibals, Neanderthal assholes in positions of power where they can get back into total rulership over the very people that they ran out of Europe who were sick of the bullshit. And now they're over here and their children have forgotten. But anyway, I digress. So, having said all of that, I think it's time for me to get into some of the spiritual stuff. I just wanted to share that with you guys in case you didn't know. The federal government, unless we do something about it and do some light work and some spiritual work, may very well be shut down tomorrow. And they'll say, oh, it's not going to be shut down long. If you have people trying to destroy the United States, and it is the Tea Party agenda right now to shut down this thing, and the Tea Party is working for the crown heads, the heads of the church, and the heads of these banks, it will be shut down unless people that are awake and aware do something about it at a spiritual level. And that's all I wanted to say. Can you guys hear me? I'm hoping you can hear me. People have been. You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Did you have a question for me?
What do you think about people not lending their hand to their fellow neighbors and saying that they're not going to help anybody, and it's not their problem, and they just waiting to send, and they're really not caring about what happens in the United States
or in the world for them? I've heard a lot of that from the so-called conscious community, from the so-called spiritual and metaphysical community. Things like, it's not your job to save the world. It's not your job to help anybody. I don't care. Screw these niggas and screw the planet and screw the world. I'm ascending. Or I just came down here just to ascend. Well, first of all, you're full of shit. If you came down here just so you can ascend, you should have stayed your ass in ascension. That's not what you came down here for. And if you feel like it's not your